In case you guys did not know this, Devin has a match coming up this year with Denis CYPLENKOV, and in my mind, this was already a pretty huge mismatch in the favor of Devin. But now that Devin has defeated Hermes in the way that he did, I think Denis is in really big trouble. This video will cover the reasons I think Devin is going to destroy Denis CYPLENKOV. Firstly, this is a really bad style match for Denis. One of the things that is very unique about Denis is the thickness of his hand. Denis's super thick hand makes it really difficult for his opponent to cup their wrist. This makes Denis very effective against pullers who rely on bending their wrist in order to win a match. The problem for Denis is that this works both ways. It's difficult for Denis's opponent to bend their wrist, but it's equally difficult for Denis to bend his own wrist. This leads to Denis really struggling against defensive arm wrestlers. We've seen in the past when Denis pulled Michael Todd, for example, that he cracked back Michael's wrist, but he also lost his own wrist. From this position, we see that Denis's power hugely decreases when he does not have his wrist. Climbing and adjusting mid-match is not something that Denis seems to be comfortable doing. It's not second nature like it is for Devin. Denis tends to hit sideways repeatedly, attempting to just finish the match instead of trying to improve his position over time. So I would say that Devin is far better than Denis once the match stops. And even worse for Denis, Devin's arm is longer than Denis's arm. Devin's longer arm gives him more potential to climb during the match. So not only is Devin better at climbing from a technical perspective, but he also has a biomechanical advantage in climbing. I also think it's safe to say that Devin has better endurance than Denis does. Denis's endurance is certainly no joke. It is well above average endurance in arm wrestling, but I don't think it's quite on the same level as Devin. So Devin is a terrible style match for Denis. He's more skilled and better proportioned for adjusting if the match does stop, and he has better endurance. The only thing Denis does have from a stylistic perspective is a flop press, but Denis's flop press is by no means his go-to move. It really is more of a desperation move than anything else. Devin knows exactly how to block a flop press, and he has been training specifically to do that recently. I just can't picture the technical lane Denis would even want to use in order to defeat Devin in this match. And it gets even worse because everything we've talked about up until this point is only about style. Not only does Devin win the style match, but he's probably just flat out stronger than Denis as well. Hermes Gasparini had the strongest back pressure ever recorded, as well as an insanely strong wrist. I can't imagine this version of Denis being close to Hermes' level in either of these areas. And Devin was able to crack Hermes' wrist back like butter. The idea that Denis could cup his wrist in against Devin has got to be just about impossible. And if Hermes' back pressure didn't do anything to Devin, I don't think Denis's will. Just looking at Denis's most recent match against John, he was pretty dominant, but there are even moments against John when Denis's wrist integrity looks questionable. Especially as Denis started being more offensive, his wrist was cracking back slightly toward the pin pad. It's probably going to fold back instantly against Devin. Let me know who you guys think is going to take this match, but if you are leaning toward Denis, let me know what lane you think he can win in. One of the issues I'm having with trying to picture Denis winning is exactly that. I just can't picture any possible lane in which Denis has a chance of pinning Devin. Even if Devin allows Denis to go into a hook, I think he's probably still strong enough to just win in that lane as well. I am still really excited to see this match, although it does feel like it's going to be super one-sided. But who knows, maybe Denis knows something that no one else does.